Can you just share a little bit of the philosophy that you and Beekman have when it comes to strategy and how you go about forming these types of partnerships?
Yes, sure. I mean, partnerships, as you mentioned, are a key part of our strategy. I think it's challenging for a smaller brand in the beauty industry, especially in a cluttered and very competitive market space, to really break through without massive budgets that people are spending on influencer trips or God knows what. We found that partnerships are not just a cost-effective way, but really a strategic way to not just break through and build awareness, but also to build customer love. Like, people just get excited by them. They think they're fun. It drives sales, but it builds brand affinity. It helps us to grow the brand and to build that awareness amongst a broader customer base, which really makes it so important of who we partner with, right? That's really first and foremost. Like, if it's such a big driver of our brand awareness and our brand affinity, the selection of our partners becomes really critical, and we have a pretty serious vetting process of when we're ideating around who to partner with, which really first starts with our brand values. We're a brand that's all about kindness. From when our founders, Dr. Brad Ridge and Josh Kilmer Purcell, took in a homeless goat farmer in Sharon Springs, New York, and started the company with one act of kindness. We say the company started with 100 goats and one act of kindness, and that rings true for our brand values today. So we look to partner with brands that are representative of kindness and our values. And then, we have a further list of criteria that we really think about, including, are they really in it to go for it? Like, if you call a brand partner and it might be a great fit, and they're like, I don't know, we're not sure. Our leadership is not fully on board with this. We're usually like, okay, like let's not do this unless we're like going to hold hands and really jump in this together. That's when we have great success. And also when it's mutually beneficial. A lot of our partnerships are not just helping us build awareness, but we're helping our brand partners build awareness and sell products and, drive their business as well. So when it's a win-win for both, everyone's sharing in the same values, and you really want to jump into the deep end together and go for it, that's when we've had the most success.
Well, no, and that makes a lot of sense. And of course, finding partners that resonate with your target audience is going to be something that's very important, right? And I may be just kind of drawing at strings here, but I mean, it sounds like you have a very proactive approach to this versus reactive. And I say that with, the Nestle Toll House rollout happened in the same time frame that the Barbie movie was rolling out, and every brand was talking about doing collaborations and chasing that and going after that, which, not saying that's a bad thing. But you had a very successful rollout with a different play at the exact same time. How do you go about finding or what will resonate with your audience? Is it just through actual customer conversations, or another way?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Some of it is okay. We have a great product and a great innovation. Like, for example, the potato peel product that we launched this past August was built on this insight that facial peels within the skincare market are really effective, but they could be damaging for people with sensitive skin. So as a brand that's all about clinical results, but safe for sensitive skin, we found this amazing ingredient in potato pulp that the acids in there are very gentle and great at brightening your skin, but also safer than traditional actives that some other brands use. So that one was really inspired by an ingredient that we said, okay, like, who could we partner with this? Like, tapping into this nostalgia idea, knowing that Barbie was coming out around the same time, but honestly got a little bit lucky in that our potato peel launch was almost the same exact week that the Barbie movie came out. So it was kind of an Mrs. Potato Head is a little more louder, a little more a different character, and almost an alternative to Barbie, if you will. So we did some research, and it's like, oh my gosh, Mrs. Potato Head's turning 70 years old this year, and look at her, she literally hasn't aged a day, and that's kind of the whole promise of this product. And we just started getting excited about it and called the team at Hasbro, and they were like, wow, this is amazing. They were obviously more than excited to jump in with the collaboration, also knowing that Barbie was coming out around the same time. So, that one was really inspired by by a product ingredient. When you look at something that we've done in the past, it could be inspired by our brand story, right? If you look at the Rose Apothecary collaboration that we did, that was really probably our first major win in terms of collaborations. The brand story really is where we came together with that. I mean, you look at two guys who moved to a small town and fall in love and open up an apothecary. It's really our founder story. Dr. Brent and Josh were two New Yorker guys, lost their jobs, moved to Sharon Springs, took in a goat farmer, and literally Googled what do we make with goat milk and started making soap around their dining room table. So when we look at that, the Rose Apothecary story was like, that's a great way for us to not just create a range of products, but to tell our brand story and link it to this wildly popular show, which, we signed our licensing agreement and then COVID hit and it went to Netflix and it really blew up. So again, these things come with a little bit of luck sometimes as well.
No, I love that. And, talking about the partnerships that you have, or the ones that I've seen, mostly brand partnerships. And I'm curious, you mentioned earlier, brands could be looking at like influencer trips or things like that. Does Beekman incorporate partnerships with celebrities or influencers, or do you mainly focus on other brands that you could partner with for product collaborations?
I mean, we do some influencer partnerships, but when we look at our big moments, it's usually, brands or media partners or things like that. We have something exciting already in the works for next year, that is more of a media-based partnership. But, influencers, of course, help us to create product awareness, and drive to our website and to Ulta to help convert people. But when it comes to the excitement of a campaign, it usually is like another brand or a media property, like a Schitt's Creek or a Mrs. Potato Head.
No, that makes sense. And I hear you saying a little bit ago, we were talking about research collaborations or things like that. What does a team look like? And I know this is a podcast and people are going to be looking for strategies. Every company has a different org chart, so this won't be universal. But for you, what does a team structure look like to be able to have successful partnerships?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we are very small and very scrappy. So I would, I don't have a head of partnerships or a head of collaborations person. It's me leading the marketing and creative agency and the PR team. So some of the ideas, like this potato head, just kind of popped up when we were talking about the potato peel, and I picked up the phone and called Hasbro. Our founders, would always say when they were watching Schitt's Creek, like, "Oh my gosh, this is our story. We should do something with them." So they really come from any level. We don't have a team that just thinks about partnerships all day. It comes from the brand team or the product team, for myself, the founders, and other people on the team. And in terms of executing it, it really is just us jumping in. I have just one person really on the brand marketing team, and she really helps me to coordinate. And our creative team we have an in-house creative team, and they're so great at coming up with concepts to pitch to people like, the Schitt's Creek team or to the Hasbro team, because there is a lot of back and forth. You have to make sure that everyone is aligned on what the vision is creatively, and then approving all the assets and getting that through, whether it's a Netflix from our Bridgerton. Different companies have different levels of approvals, and that process could be a lot of back and forth. So I think having a creative team could bring a vision to life very quickly and could adapt back and forth and go through all the approvals quickly, because that could be time consuming. But the ideation piece, I mean, really just has to come from the people who are building the products or building the brand. I think it comes very naturally because you're always thinking about these things day to day.
Yeah, for sure. No, that definitely makes sense. And, totally common to see usage of, external partners and things like that for execution as well as you're going through it. When, and it may be different for each collaboration that you go through, but when you're doing a product collaboration with Toll House or with Schitt's Creek, are you having to ideate the product and come up with the actual samples for it to then send to them for approval? Is there any kind of back and forth with that type of collaboration?
Yes, I mean that's typically our approach. So we have an idea, And before we even approach a potential partner, we'll work together like a concept board and a product campaign and a 360 to really say like, okay, guys, like, let's brainstorm together, of course, but how we think we could build on this. And if you have any other ideas, like let's be open to sharing them and trying to make this as big as we can. But we find the most success of like, hey guys, like Toll House is a perfect example. Like next year during the holiday season, we have a theme for our holiday campaign that's all about it's sweet to be kind. What is a more nostalgic scent than a freshly baked Toll House cookie? We think that could fit perfectly into our campaign. We are really strong in scented body care, and we have this great new technology that was about microbiome friendly scents that we think this would be a perfect fit for that. Here's a first pass of what we think the packaging could look like, and we want to work with your chef Meredith from Toll House to make sure that we're getting the scent exactly right on what a Toll House cookie smells like coming out of the oven. Here's our first pass at it, but we want to work with her to get it to where it goes. So we are the one kind of developing the concepts, developing the products, and pitching them the idea. And I think that's why our partners like working with us. I think, frankly, is like we do a lot of the upfront work, and we bring them something that's really compelling and really exciting. And we also show them like not what's in it for us, but what's in it for you guys. Like we'll do a collab
Yeah.
post. We have X number of followers on TikTok. We're going to do X, Y, and Z to help bring awareness to yours, and we're going to really do all the work. We just need you guys to approve it.
No, that makes sense. And as we started this episode out with the Nestle Toll House rollout, I'm seeing numbers: $1.1 million sold in the first hour of the launch, 45,000 units. You had to temporarily stop sales so that you could process all of the demand. You're one of the companies that's breaking Shopify, if you're on Shopify, as you go through it. Um, there's there's a question I could ask in terms of how do you execute that. You need email campaigns and all that. But I also know, just from knowing about Beekman, there's fan loyalty, right? Or there's customer loyalty that plays into that. I think a better question to ask would be, what's something that you think would be fundamental to have a good new product rollout with a collaboration? And maybe what's something that brands new to it could overlook or not think about?
Yeah, I think, choosing the right partner is obviously very important. And, it's that mix of a partner that's unexpected, but that it feels brand right. I think that's kind of the sweet spot, no pun intended, is you want something that's going to stand out, but it's got to make sense. Because sometimes you see these collaborations like, okay, that's like very out of the box, but I don't really get the connection. Or sometimes it's just like very expected, like a hair brand does something with a hair dryer brand. It's like not going to really like break through and be unexpected. So I think that's critical, is like try to find that partner that's brand right, but that feels a little like, oh wow, that's I would not think that would happen. Like you're going to make me smell like a chocolate cookie in your body wash in the shower this year. That's kind of crazy. And then I think you're tapping into trends too, like what's trending. We know nostalgia is huge, not just with older customers, but like millennials like love nostalgia. That worked. Like who doesn't remember the smell of a Toll House cookie? Like my mother remembers that smell with her mother. I remember that smell with my mother. It is that emotional connection. And then the third piece is really the storytelling. I think that's where, as a brand, we're very strong. The brand story and the DNA is very strong. But when we have a collaboration, it's not just like, here's the product. It's like, let's talk about the product. We worked with the chef to get that smell exactly right, and we tell that story. We had her challenge us on TikTok. The head chef for Toll House say like, Beekman, I challenge you to dupe this set, and can you do it? And we went back and forth with so many rounds until we got it right. But telling all those nuances of the story and tapping into that emotion with the right partner, I think that's really the three things that I would challenge anyone thinking about a partner. Are you kind of hitting all three of those?
And that makes a lot of sense. And then when it comes to measuring success, we talk about units moved, we talk about dollar amount sold. Are there any other specific KPIs or just ways that you measure success from a partnership?
Yeah, so our Jill, our CEO, always says to me, all of our collaborations should put a smile on our neighbors and customers' faces. We call our customers neighbors. And that's because as a brand, we're all about kindness, and we just want to make it feel good and make it fun. So that's kind of the emotional thing. Like yeah, if it does sales, obviously that is the main KPI, but it's got to feel right. It's got to feel exciting. It's got to feel fun. And then the awareness piece for me is a huge KPI as well. Like, all brands are struggling with digital getting more expensive and cost of acquisition going up. Like, how are you really breaking through, right? Like even TikTok a few years ago when it first came out, you could really break through so much more. So it's harder and harder to do that. And this is a great way to do that. When we post this content on our social, we saw, our engagement rate on Toll House was like over 100% versus our typical engagement on our content on both TikTok and Instagram. So it's really like winning over new customers. People are sharing this content. People are talking about it. People are gifting it. I mean, gifting is a huge part of our business. And that I think was a huge success of Toll House as well, right? Like you could buy it for your dad. You could buy it for your daughter. You could buy it for like, who doesn't want to smell like a freshly baked cookie? It's just a fun gift. So it's really spreading the word of the brand via social, via gifting, via word of mouth. So that really is the KPI for us too. And like that comes in, views on TikTok, it comes in engagement on Instagram, it comes in PR placement. We got over 400 PR placements on the Toll House collaboration, all the way up to someone like a CNN. So that press and media is very hard to get if you just are launching another, face cream.
And new customer acquisition makes sense for it a lot. I'm sure it's also an LTV opportunity or just a way to continue to build your friendship with your neighbors, your lifetime with your customers there. Do you look at it that way? Like, do you see it as any sort of like percentage of how it's going to benefit lifetime value versus new customer acquisition with that?
Yeah, we do. We do think about that in terms of our channel strategy and our messaging strategy. And I think, for example, on TV retail, we built up quite a loyal fan base, and they've come to expect these things from Beekman 1802. So when our founders go on and talk about this new collaboration with Toll House, well, that is one of the main KPIs. It's like, are we bringing back those customers who are expecting something new from us? Because if we don't have things like this, our LTV is going to go down. But then we also look at it from how are we acquiring new customers from our D2C or our social channels. Like, wow, this is something that may bring in a customer that never heard of Beekman 1802 before, but this is a great way to connect with them in a different way with this scent that is very unique and interesting. So we do look at like by channel, by returning our new customers in terms of the strategy.
And I imagine it even increases your average order value should you have like cross sells and things like that for new customers as well that are coming in.
Yeah, exactly. And bundling is also a key part, like whether it's a Rose Apothecary gift set or we do these great gift sets that we had for Toll House as well, that, how do we cross sell within the collab itself, but then also then take these customers who come into the brand and upgrade them if they're a body care person to become a skincare person down the road, which is where we see the growth of our business in the future.
Yeah, and I was watching one of the HSN episodes recently. It was actually the two founders that were on there. And in that episode, this was, let's just say, because this is recording in December, it was like the first week of December. But there was a scent that was being retired from the hand soaps. And it made me think of this next question. What does the lifetime value of a partnership collab look like in terms of shelf life, or how long you keep it for sale? Maybe it varies based on sales volume and things, but do you have like a maximum time frame that you retire? As I ask that, now I'm also thinking maybe licensing deals play into that, but before I ramble, just kind of hand it off to you.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. That's not the best answer, but that's the reality, I think, of what it was. When it was just to animate a new launch, like a Mrs. Potato Head, right? There wasn't a film around that, but it was like, okay, our launch for this that we're really going to be out there blasting on our social media and our D2C was a few months. So we said, okay, let's just do a partnership with Asbro on that. We sent out influencer boxes with our potato peel in it and Mrs. Potato Head. People went like crazy. And we were using her in our launch content. But for us, that like wasn't a long-term content play. It was to really create excitement and build awareness. And then we just went into product messaging a few months after that. So that was like I believe a 3-month contract. When it came to Schitt's Creek, people that had a longer arc, right? Because people discovered the show and people fell in love with it. And then it went on to Netflix, and then it started streaming, and people slowly started to catch on and telling their friends about it. So that one, we actually extended our license for another year after that contract because there was still a demand and people were still learning about that and falling in love with that. And it was kind of this cult-like thing that was building and building and building. So, but that had its time too. After a year and a half, that was kind of like, okay, Schitt's Creek is kind of not the topic of conversation and around the dinner table every night anymore. So it really depends on what the partnership is and what the strategy is and what the point is. Is it just to pulse something new, or is it to tap in something over a longer term?
Yeah, and from the things that you've shared, I mean, you mentioned that partnerships can play into the lifetime value that you're seeing through channels like television spots, right? HSN. It can play into getting new customer acquisition. I'm all about percentages and bucketing things. Might be a bad way to look at stuff, but when it comes to partnerships, what is Beekman with or without partnerships? How impactful do you think they are to the bottom line for growth?
That's a good question. I mean, in terms of the dollar volume that they generate, it's not a significant amount of our business. In terms of the awareness that they help to create and the brand building and our marketing spend, it is a larger percent of that. I mean, neither is even close to half or anything like that. But, I think for us, it is a way to keep the brand fresh, to keep it exciting, to bring in new customers, and to amplify new products or new seasonal messages that we have. I think it gets you that exposure. For example, Mrs. Potato Head with potato peel, right? Like our retail friends at Ulta Beauty, we were just going into all 1,300 Ulta doors, and they loved the collaboration so much, and said we want Mrs. Potato Head in every single Ulta store. So we did a big end cap with a picture of Mrs. Potato Head on there, and that for us drove significant awareness and significant sales, making it a very strong, one of the top skincare launches of the season at Ulta. So it does help to drive that burst. But when it comes to if you look at our overall sales of, I know it's not a big slice, but it is a strategy of ours on the awareness side.
No, that definitely makes sense. And, looking ahead, 2024, that's when this episode will be live, but it's also right around the corner from where we are. What are some of the biggest marketing opportunities or challenges that you see ahead for the brand?
For the Beekman in particular?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's always a challenge for, we are still a smaller brand. We're gaining lots of momentum. It was a very strong year for us. We're very fortunate that we won 26 different awards this year from different products to different campaigns. So one of the biggest challenges is how do you keep the momentum going? We just rolled into all Ulta Beauty doors this past year, so our distribution is really helping us build awareness. But I think it's continuing to be what is next? I think it's every marketer's challenge, right? Gosh, what is the next big thing? We're all kind of constantly wondering if we should be betting on X or Y or Z. What is the next technology? What is the next social platform? How do we stay ahead, and how do we not miss out on an opportunity? And those are the things that I think you have to just kind of trust your gut and bet on. And sometimes you win, and not all the time. Sometimes you do something and it does not work. I spent more time personally on Clubhouse than I would care to admit out loud that now doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. But maybe, but I think it's always just a balance of having a strategic plan that is how do we want to build the brand this year? What products do you want to launch this year? How are we going to be really exciting about animating them? But you can't just rely on that. You always have to be considering where else the market's going, where the customer is going, where are they spending their time, and how could you tap into that, right? Who is your customer? Where are they? And finding them where they go. And that's changing all the time. And I think that is probably the hardest part of being the lead of a marketing team here, is staying on top of that and trying to get ahead of it. It's challenging.
Yeah, having plan, but also moving fast when you need to, um, while also sticking to the plan, but also moving fast.
Yes, which makes everyone crazy, but it's just the only way you could do it to make it work.
Yeah, and also just content going forward. Always important. Well, if you had to summarize everything that we discussed today into a marketing mindset, what mindset should marketers or business owners have when it comes to partnerships?
Yeah, I think summarizing it, it would be, it's a mix of the art and the science. I think you have to take a chance, be creative, be disruptive. I know that word is overused, but I think when it comes to collaborations, it really is true. I would say more unexpected, but on brand and have fun with it. I think that's really where the collaborations come to life in the best way. Like, don't take them too seriously. Have a lot of fun. That's what people love about collaborations. It's the fun factor. It builds the brand. People want brands that make them smile and make them happy, and they're drawn to that, and that really builds brand love. And I think that to me is the point of a collaboration. Yes, the sales come. Yes, the LTV comes, but it is that joy that you're bringing, that kindness that for us that we're bringing to our community.
And people like to shop, and it gives them another reason to purchase. It gives them another reason to use your product and to try it out. So, for anyone listening that is in the stage of figuring out what they'd like to do in the marketing industry, maybe in college or at a pivot in their career, what roles do you personally think will have the biggest opportunity or demand in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh gosh. I mean, I would say first of all, my career advice is always picking an industry that you really love versus profession. If you love products, people like I could have some amazing marketing people who come in from other companies who don't have a passion for skincare or beauty care, and they're just not successful because they don't
Mhm.
really care. So for me, it's like find a product, whether you're a gamer or whether you love beauty products or what it is, and then get into marketing and that because it becomes less like work and more just like talking about things that you love. You're already following those trends on your social. You're already looking at that stuff every day. So it's less work and more fun. Uh, and it's shifting. There's a lot of conversation about performance marketing. Everyone's kind of caught up. Everyone's at equal playing ground. It's getting more and more competitive. The cost of acquisition is getting higher, and there is kind of a pendulum swinging back towards the brand marketing world. So I think creativity, brand building, strategic thinking and out of the box is becoming increasingly more important than just being a numbers person. So I think I would say that would be where I'd focus. I think it's the combination. I think it was marketing used to be very left brain, the creative director ruled the world. Then it became the analytics people rule the world, and now it's in the middle. So I think that's exciting. And I think being your left brain, right brain is a skill set that's everyone has to refine a little bit. You can't just be the creative guy or the analytical guy anymore. You have to be both to really win.
Yeah, I agree with both of those things. Both the main things that you said. First one, that's one thing I've noticed as an agency. Let's just say, talking about like hiring a designer, finding someone that specializes in paid media creative versus just design, right? Because they could do logo design or landing page design, and also D2C versus just paid ads, right? And then to, it's interesting. It's gone from creative to analytical, kind of in the middle. Marketing seems to have also gone from traditional, TV, print to completely digital. And now I see a lot of D2C brands are going to things like Postpilot for direct mail and opportunities offline as well, which is interesting to kind of see the shift back and forth there.
Absolutely.
So, well, I appreciate coming on today. Last question for you. Tell us, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about yourself and Beekman?
Oh, sure. I mean, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always on there, like looking at uh, what's going on in the business world and accepting invitations. So it's Brad Farrell on Beekman. You can find me there. In our products, you could find at beekman1802.com or at all Alta Beauties or altabeauty.com. And thank you so much for having me, Colby. I really appreciate being here.
Of course. Thanks for coming on.